Hi, my name is Zara Osman Essa, and the topic that I am going to talk about today is the asset based approach. So, to start off with the definition, the asset based approach is in education focuses on leveraging the strengths, talents, and resources that students bring with them to the learning environment rather than focusing on their limitations or deficits. This approach encourages teachers to identify and build upon students' unique abilities, cultural backgrounds, and interests to enhance their learning experiences. Moving on to the key principles of the asset based approach. So, the first one would be recognizing strength, which means instead of seeing students through a lens of what they lack, this approach identifies what they excel in, be it leadership skills, creativity, resilience, or cultural knowledge. The second one would be empowering students. By focusing on their strengths, students feel valued, which can boost their confidence and engagement. Number three would be collaborative learning, which is this approach often encourages collaboration where students can share their unique perspective and skills with their peers. And lastly, I would say it's a respect for diversity. This approach celebrates diversity, understanding that each student's background and experience enrich the classroom community. Now we'll move on to the examples in practice, how you can basically use this approach in real life in your classroom. The first one would be interest based projects, which means assigning projects that align with students' personal interests or talents, like letting an artistically inclined student illustrate a story that they learned in class. This immediately makes them want to get into it and focus on it more. The second would be peer teaching, which is pairing students with different strengths so that they can learn from each other, such as having students who are skilled in math teach students who struggle with it, and vice versa. Student could struggle with English, and that person could help them. So it could be a trade, and it could encourage more learning between students. And the third one I would say is cultural inclusion, which is basically incorporating students' cultural backgrounds into lessons, allowing them to share traditions, languages, or knowledge from their heritage. And then I would move on to the benefits of asset-based approach, which is that it boosts a student's confidence. By focusing on students' strengths, this approach helps them build self-esteem and motivation. Secondly, I would say it encourages diversity. The classroom becomes a place where different backgrounds and perspectives are celebrated, enriching the learning environment. Fourth, I would say build a strong classroom community, meaning that when students' unique abilities are acknowledged, they are more likely to feel a sense of belonging and engagement. And lastly, I would say it promotes lifelong learning. So students are empowered to recognize their own strengths, making them more resilient and self-directed learners. Um, Incorporating an asset-based approach creates a supportive classroom that not only meets the academic needs but also nurtures students' identities and potential. Overall, an asset-based approach fosters a more positive, inclusive, and supportive learning environment. By focusing on what students bring to the table, it can create a sense of belonging and purpose. And that is why I feel like it is a good approach to incorporate into classrooms.